Blog Talk Radio.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah. Hi, yes. Hi, my name is Matthew E. O'Neill, and I'm the #1 ranked editor for Everipedia.org. We rival Wikipedia, except we have over 6 million articles, and we're on Google.com and Bing.com. I have an MBA from Regis University. It's in Denver, Colorado, and I did 4 years in the armed forces. My name is Matthew E. O'Neill, and you have a very interesting story. Your name is Anthony Ruggiano?
Anthony Ruggiano Jr. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yes, you have a very colorful past. You were affiliated. You knew a lot of very famous people. You know John Gotti and his family. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I know them through my father. Yes.
And did you realize that John Gotti III is a professional MMA fighter right now, and he has a pro record of 5 wins and 1 loss?
Yeah, John Gotti Jr.'s son, right? Yes, I know that. I've been reading about. I read about him in the newspaper. Yep.
What do you think about that? Do you think he's going to go far, or what kind of ability do you think he has?
I really don't know. I think he looks good. I mean, the little bit I read about him, I haven't seen him fight on TV. I haven't seen him fight personally, but from what I understand, he's pretty good. I think he actually lost his last fight. I'm not too sure. But, I mean, that's a tough racket. You know, I'm more into regular boxing. My father was a big fight fan, and I went to a lot of boxing matches my whole life since I was a little kid. So, yeah, from what I understand, he's pretty good. I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. So hopefully, I'm hoping, I hope he does good. I hope he doesn't get hurt, and he continues in his career.
Yes, he has 1 loss. He had 1 fight scheduled in Rhode Island, but it was canceled because of the coronavirus. When you were growing up, who was your favorite boxer?
Well, my favorite boxer when I was growing up was Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran was my favorite fight. My father took me to see Roberto Duran fight Kenny Buchanan for the lightweight title at Madison Square Garden when I was a teenager, and it was a great 15-round fight. He was my favorite fighter growing up, and then Joe Frazier became one of my favorite fighters, Smoking Joe Frazier. I actually met him one night at a club in Long Island called Jupiter's. After he retired, he was touring with a group called Joe Frazier and the Knockouts. He was singing and dancing, and I was taken backstage, and I was introduced to him, and he had the biggest hands of any human being I ever met. When he shook my hand, his hand was the size of a shovel. It was tremendous. Yes. Yeah. My father's favorite fighter was Rocky Marciano.
Rocky Marciano, he undefeated, 49 wins and 0 losses.
Yes.
What do you think separated Marciano from the other fighters?
Oh, his punching power, for sure. That's what my father always told me. My father always told me that he, no matter where he hit you, he hurt you. That he used to just keep punching guys in their arms, and eventually, after the 5th and 6th round, they couldn't lift their arms up anymore. Definitely his punching power. My father loved him. He was like one of my father's favorite. He was one of my father's idols, Rocky Marciano.
Yes. Yes, my name is Matthew O'Neill, and I boxed in the U.S. Armed Forces. I did 4 years in the Armed Forces in the late 90s. My best win was beating Preston Hartzog. He was an Armed Forces champion. And I wanted to turn pro, but they said I'm under 6 feet tall. And in the current lens, as far as boxing, do you think there'll ever be a heavyweight champion under 6 feet tall?
I don't, that's a tough question. I'm not sure how tall Joe Frazier was. I don't know if Joe Frazier was 6 foot. He might have just been about 6 foot. I mean, the heavyweights today are much bigger and much heavier than the heavyweights when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s, the heavyweight division was much smaller than they are today. I mean, Joe Frazier was 208 pounds. There was heavyweights that were 196 pounds. I mean, so it's just a different class today. Today they're all giants, but back when I was a kid, they weren't as big as they are today. So yeah, I think a heavyweight could be a little under 6 foot. Why not? As long as they in this age maybe not, but in my day, yes.
And I have one biological son. My son's name is Dan Marshall. He's 20 years old
Right.
now. He's part Inuit Indian.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Ontario, Canada. His mother did not want him to play any type of sports, to do boxing. She was really, really against sports as far as his upbringing. And it kind of affected our relationship tremendously. I competed in, I was actually covered by Into Boxing in 2020, which is the United Kingdom-based company. I like to throw, actually, I was more defensive. And Willie Pep is also, he was an Italian, his name is Willie Pep, and he once won a round without throwing a punch.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought
Willie
that
Pep
was interesting.
Was like lightning. Mm-hmm.
He was a featherweight boxer.
Like
he could win. He would actually not throw one punch, and he actually won a round. That's what interested me about boxing.
Right. Yeah. Willie Pep was a great fighter. Yeah, Willie Pep was a great. He was another one of my father's favorite fighters. Willie Pep. He was a great fighter. I saw clips of him fight.
And you spent time down in Miami Beach when you were in the 80s. Is that correct?
Yes. I spent time down in Miami. Well, I spent time down in Miami in the early 80s. My father was down here. And then my father went to prison, and then I was going back and forth, and then I started spending time down here again in the late 80s and early 90s until I was arrested, actually indicted down here on a case in Miami, on a federal case. Yeah.
Were you involved with the nightclubs down in Miami? Bars?
Not directly. I mean, I was in and out of them. My father did own restaurants down here, and we had an after-hour club down here for a while, but I was never involved in any of the legitimate nightclubs, but I was in and out of all of them. I knew the owners. I knew, I knew which clubs to go to, but I didn't personally own any of them. We did own an Italian restaurant down here that was pretty popular called Dano's, and we had another we had an after-hour club that was pretty popular with a little gambling in the back room. Mm-hmm.
And as far as it's right now, it's July 30th, 2021. It's around 5 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time.
5:07.
How has the coronavirus affected your life as far as dealing with people? How has this affected you?
Well, I work in treatment right now. I went back to school, and I work in. I'm a behavioral health technician now. So basically, my day revolves around actually helping people with drug and alcohol problems. And how it affected our company was restricted travel. We never closed. We stood open. It hurt the people from traveling. It hurt the people from going to meetings. A lot of people relapsed when they started getting the stimulus checks. A lot of kids would take the money and go buy drugs with it. So it did affect our business, our company per se. And as far as it affected my life personally, I had to stop going to the gym. I got a little unhealthier because the gyms all closed. I couldn't work out. I couldn't really walk around with a mask on. It was too restraining. I couldn't breathe well. So all I would do was go to work in the day, and then I would come home and I would sit on my couch and I would just, watch TV and eat. I put on some weight that I didn't need to put on. My children would shop for me, so I wouldn't even go to the supermarket. They would go because, of my age. I was afraid to get sick, so it did affect me in a bad way, a derogatory way for sure. I'm still losing the pandemic weight, trying to get it off my body, because all my doctors told me I need to lose weight. So it definitely had an effect on me. Mm-hmm.
And your website is AnthonyRuggiano.com. Is that correct?
Ruggiano. Correct. Yeah, my website has all the information about what I'm doing today, how we're trying to reach people to help them any way we can. Whatever I'm doing, it's my Q&As are on there. Whatever other interviews I'm going to be doing, all the information that people are interested in is on the website. If they want me to speak, if they want to book me for a speaking engagement, it's all there.
And what do you have planned coming up over the next year or year and a half as far as your career?
We're working on a Q&A session. We're trying to put it together. As a matter of fact, I had my first one last night. It went very well. We're trying to put that together once a week. I'm working on a show called The Final Chapter with some fellas from Italy. I'm working on that. I'm about to do an interview with DJ Vlad, who has a big YouTube channel. So I have a lot of things, I have a lot of irons in the fire. I'm just taking it slow. I want to make sure that not only am I getting my story out there, but, I'm reaching people. My goal is to actually help people and also earn a living, but I do want to make sure that I'm putting a positive message out there to, reach the younger generation, to tell them that, it's not that lifestyle isn't about glamour, because at the end of the day, it's very traumatic for our families.
And again, yes, my name is Matthew E. O'Neill, O''Neil, and I work for Everipedia.org. We rival Wikipedia, except we have video capabilities. I created your page, Anthony Ruggiano.
Yes.
And I created the page, and you have a very interesting story to tell. You've been involved with a lot of great stuff. And as far as the future, I mean, do you think you can make it another 20 or 30 years? You definitely have the passion for life. Do you still have that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would love to. My mother just passed away, unfortunately. She was 88. My father passed away when he was 72. But, yes, I have a passion for life. I have a new goal. I'm blessed because, I had an old life, and now, it's like I'm reborn into a new life. It's like a whole new chapter. It's exciting. So, yeah, I think I'm going to stick around for a while, God willing.
And do you think you're going to get involved with any type of movies, acting roles, directing, producing, anything?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to produce, but I have a production company. I have an agent. I have a really good team. We put together a really good team, and they're working night and day to put together some projects. And we're working on a reality show. We're working on a few things, but mostly whatever comes our way, whatever things are in the fire, whatever things are going to come up, it's all going to be on the website. It will all be, we'll put it out on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, and my website, so it will all be there.
Is there anything you miss about New York City? You don't live there anymore. Is there anything that you miss about the city?
No. I go there. Well, I miss the neighborhood. I miss my family. I miss the food. I miss the action. I miss being in the city. I love the city. I love Manhattan, and but I go back there I go back there quite often. So when I miss it, I jump on a plane and I fly up there for a few days, and I come back. Hello?
Yes, I cover boxing. Yes, I cover boxing for the
Yeah.
major boxing promoters, such as MTK Global. I've created dozens of pages for their fighters. MTK Global is based out of the United Arab Emirates. It was formerly located in the United Kingdom. I think I got an interest in writing the articles because I used to box myself. Of course, it's kind of a personal thing because I lost custody of my son. His mother did not want him to box or play sports, and she's part Inuit Indian. They live near Richmond Hill, Ontario. Her maiden name was Crenshaw, and her name is Patricia Marshall. She's the mother of my son. Over the next 90 seconds, I mean, can you sum up what you're going to be doing over the next couple of years?
Well, hopefully I'm going to get a book. I'm working on a book deal. I want to write a book. I want to get my story out there, my life story. I was born into the mob. My father was a main member of the mafia. The same year I was born, in 1953. So I was actually raised by wise guys, and I lived a lifestyle where I was involved with wise guys. And my father was in the entertainment industry. I was around a lot of celebrities my whole life. And I thought, I got lost in that glamour of it. And, I went to prison. I spent a lot of time in prison. I spent 14 years in prison. So at this point, like I said, I want to get my story out there. I want to help people as much as I can and tell my story and tell how I overcame, a life of crime. I overcame drug addiction and, and put myself through school and, changed my life. And anything's possible. Nobody is stuck in a lifestyle. Nobody needs to be in pain, and there's always a way out. And and I need to get that story out there. So as long as it takes, that's what I'll be doing for the rest of my days.
Sir, thank you for being on the show. It's only 15 minutes. I'd like to thank you for being on the program.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.